So, hi, folks. We're going to start very shortly. In fact, we're going to start right now. But if you're not muted, please mute yourselves. Thank you. This is Sharon Meyer. I am the integrative nutritionist, functional nutritionist at the Institute for Health and Healing. And today we're going to talk about the immune system. It's kind of appropriate right now, don't you think, as we start to see the Delta variant on the rise and people are just feeling a little uncomfortable. So, what is the immune system and how it's impacted is what we're going to be talking about now. So we're continually exposed to organisms, we inhale them, we swallow them, they inhabit our skin, our mucous membranes. And whether these organisms lead to disease is really decided by the integrity, of our body's defense, pretty much our immune system. And when our immune system is working really well, we don't even notice it. But when we have an under or overactive system, we are at a greater risk of developing infections and impacting our health in other different ways. So what is the immune system? We talk about it very often. And so the question is, what is it and how does it work? So the immune system is an interactive network of organs, white blood cells, and proteins that protect the body from viruses, bacteria, or any other foreign substances. It also works by neutralizing and removing pathogens like bacteria, viruses, parasites, or fungi that enter the body. It also recognizes and neutralizes harmful substances from the environment, and it fights against the body's own cells that have changed due to an illness. When we think about cancer, that's one of the way the body works at removing some of those cells that have changed in a dangerous way. What we now know is an underactivity or an underactive immune system can result in severe infections and tumors or anything immunodeficient. And then overactivity results in allergic reactions and autoimmune diseases. So for our body's natural defense to run smoothly, the immune system must be able to differentiate between self and non-self cells, organisms and substances. And so how does this work? What does this look like? So when we think about non-self substances, these are called antigens, which includes the proteins on the surfaces of bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Cells of the immune system detect the presence of these antigens and work to defend themselves. Self-substances are proteins on the surface of our own cells, and normally the immune system has already learned at an earlier stage to identify these proteins as self. But when it identifies its own body as non-self and then fights it, this is what we call an autoimmune reaction. Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, the list is long. The amazing thing about the immune system is that it is constantly adapting and learning so that the body can fight against bacteria or viruses that change over time. We constantly encountering different viruses and pathogens. And so our immune system is constantly adapting to those. And there are two types of the immune system. There is our innate immune system, which works as a general defense against all pathogens, and then our adaptive immunity. And this targets very specific pathogens that the body has already been in contact with. So smart. So these two immune systems complement each other in a different way. So we think about this. Imagine a network of cells and tissues spread out throughout your body involving your cells, your tissues, and organs. Your immune system is on a constant lookout for invaders, and it's ready to attack and protect you through this so-called immune response. It is your defense system, and it is your inner army of protection. It is mind-blowingly wonderful. So there are different types of immunity. There is the innate immunity, and this is the immunity or immune system that you are born with. And this allows your body to fight pathogens until you develop the adaptive immunity. The adaptive immunity, this is the form of immune system that is acquired. It's a library of antibodies, and it develops through being exposed to and fighting off pathogens. So if we think about things like chickenpox and measles, all of those, we've adapted to those. We know what those viruses or pathogens look like, and this is part of the whole library scenario of the immune system. There's passive immunity, and this is the form of immunity that includes a baby's protection through the placenta, or even from the breast milk. And the thing about passive immunity, it only lasts for a period of time until the body has acquired maybe the adaptive immunity and then can take care of itself. Immunization exposes your body to antigens and weaken pathogens to protect your body from specific infections and illness in the future. It's a very complex system that we have. It's amazing. It really is quite incredible. Now, what are the foods that support our immune system? Well, firstly, I'm going to talk about the foods that really impact our immune system negatively. And yes, you can guess it, sugar. Sugar and high carbs will definitely impact that in not such a great way. So one of the things that we know is it weakens the immune system. And one of the big reasons for this is that white blood cells require vitamin C to perform certain functions. What we know is that vitamin C and sugar are very similar structurally, and then they can compete for entrances into the cells. The problem with this is that glucose often gains priority over vitamin C and then impacts the immune system in not such a great way. It hinders it. We also know that excess sugar is very good at feeding underlying bacteria, candida, yeast, and all the rest of it. But we also know that it can suppress the immune system for quite a while after you've actually consumed sugar. In fact, eating or drinking a soda, which is about 8 tablespoons of sugar, or actually it's 2.5 12-ounce cans of sugar, can reduce the ability of white blood cells by 40%. 40%, folks. And may last for 5 hours after you actually drunk that soda. So, you got to give it up, right? The other part would be gluten. The next thing would be gluten. And the reason for gluten is that it can promote inflammation. And we're thinking about how do we support our immunity. And actually, it's not about, we want to support the immune system rather than boost it. Because if we boost the immune system, it becomes hyperactive. We want to just support the immune system, right? And when we think about COVID, a lot of impact with COVID is inflammation, and inflammation is also part of that immune system. The thing about gluten, it promotes inflammation at the gut level. So we want to make sure that we're supporting the entire body and having less of that. If you're very sensitive to gluten, you might want to eliminate it all completely. The thing about the gluten, it disrupts gut bacteria. So then we start to look at dysbiosis. It promotes inflammation, and then it has an impact on blood sugar and insulin because it is a fairly high glycemic food. So with that, it impacts how insulin, the amount of insulin that is excreted, which means that can promote some inflammatory response too. Alcohol, for sure, problematic. So if you're stressed and you're using alcohol as a way to de-stress, you may want to find some other techniques. We have some great programs and and presentations from a lot of our therapists, and they talk about ways to de-stress during this time. It impairs our memory. Alcohol is linked with depression, anxiety, mood disorders. It disrupts the microbiome. It's high in sugar. It impacts our immune system. It impacts how we sleep. And we know that women are definitely more affected by alcohol than men because they have less of this particular enzyme called dehydrogenase, which breaks down alcohol. So you want to watch how much you are drinking. The foods you want to consume are going to be vegetables, high amounts of vegetables, because they're very high in those phytonutrients, which is what we need, right? Phytonutrients support the body in so many different ways. They're antibacterial, they're antiviral, they're antipathogenic, they're antimicrobial, they help with a proper DNA turnover. They're very good for the expression of our healthier genes. They're good for repairing our cells. They're good for supporting our immune system, reducing inflammation. The brain needs them, the heart needs them. We need those vegetables. And there are specific ones that are very, very good for the immune system. We need, so for example, vitamin A. So vitamin A is required for our lungs, our digestive system, our skin, antibodies. It's our first line of defense in neutralizing in pathogens. We get this in apples and oil, fish, things like sardines, egg yolks, nuts and seeds, leafy greens, yellow and orange vegetables, pumpkins and carrots. So you want to be eating lots of the vitamin A. For me, I will always take a little liquid vitamin A, pure vitamin A supplement every now and then. Especially if I feel something's coming, I feel like there's something going on with the lungs. Very good for the lining of the lungs. The B vitamins are very important for helping with the production of natural killer cells. Where do we find those? Green leafy vegetables, legumes, nuts and seeds, eggs, and any of the animal products. If you're vegetarian or vegan, then you've got to find them in other places. So you would up your amount of green leafy veg and your legumes. Vitamin C and E. C, of course, you're going to find this in all of the citrus fruits. But kiwi has enormous amount of vitamin C. Lemons, limes, berries, all of those have them. So do tomatoes and peppers. Vitamin E, you're going to find in nuts, leafy green, and vegetables. And of course, vitamin D is the one thing that we have to take a supplement for. So you might want to consider supplementing with D3 if you're not already doing that. Green tea, the ECGC, the phytonutrient in the green tea, is really, really, really powerful. It is highly supportive of the immune system. But it's also got theophylline, and this is a very powerful compound that actually acts as a bronchial dilator. So it improves airway function and eases breathing difficulties. So upping your cups of green tea in a day is an easy way of supporting immunity. Don't forget the leafy greens. Then things like garlic, ginger, chocolate, there you are, and olive oil. Olive oil has got 30 different phytochemicals. We absolutely need them. And protein. Protein is really important because we need protein for energy, but we need it also to make those infection-fighting antibodies. We need it for blood, tissue, enzymes repair. We need it for immunity, muscle building, hair. We need it for our skin and nails, hormones, neurotransmitters. We need it to make our cells. And it controls blood sugar and insulin. It's very important for our genes. So we need to have protein. It's getting such a bad rap, and it really shouldn't. Quality is important. How and how those animals are reared that we eat are very, very important. Want to be going for things like grass-fed and grass-finished as much as possible. Your eggs and chickens, pasture-raised where you can, and fish should be wild. And maybe a bit of organ meat. I know a lot of people balk at the idea of eating organ meats, but I think this is a great way to get vitamin A from kidney and some of the heart, liver. Liver would be ideal. You can do liver maybe once or even twice a month would be great. Consider that. I mean, I think it's a great idea to have it once a week, but that can be a little bit off-putting for many people, but it's delicious. Other red meat, beef, bison, lamb, mutton, pork, wild game. Poultry is going to be chicken, duck, turkey. And then fish, of course, has got all kinds of things. It's got omega-3s in there, which are anti-inflammatory and also very supportive of the immune system. And the more oily the fish, the higher the omega-3 content. So things like anchovy and herring and sardines and salmon, mackerel, all of those very fishy fish are important. But if you don't like that fish, then you might go with the less fishy tasting fish. So that would be things like halibut and maybe some sole, maybe some cod. That's great protein too. Shellfish also very high. And then eggs, chicken or duck would be great. So those are the foods that support the immune system. And I think that right now, a lot of the fruit would be a good idea too. So peaches that are still in season, again, they have a high content of beta carotene and they've got some other phytonutrients that are very healthy. So reach out for those and eat them now while they're still available. So folks, next week we're going to talk about biotics, the following week and how they impact the immune system. And then the following week, we're going to talk about dairy too. So if you've got any questions, you can send them via the chat box right now. And also just to remind you that we have the survey in the chat box and we would love you to complete that because it gives us ideas of what to talk about and what you think is necessary for you. So any questions? Go ahead. Okay. I don't see any questions coming up, so that I'll give you a little bit more time.
Hi, Sharon. There's one that just came up from Dawn. She says, what are high protein vegetarian products besides eggs?
Legumes. You could definitely use some legumes, but be very, very increase the what am I trying to say? Get this out this afternoon. Okay, Dawn. So one of the things about legumes is that you want to use a variety of different types of beans and lentils. Go for things that you haven't tried before, not the same old things like kidney beans or red beans. Try something different. Lupini. These are great snacks. You can get them on Amazon, but they're brilliant as a form of protein. And if you're also going to use legumes, try something like Rancho Gordo, RANCHO GORDO. They have all the heirloom beans. These are beans that have not been hybridized. Make sure that you diversify a little with those. Okay, any other questions? Okay. All right, folks. Next week, biotics. Take care of yourself this week, and we'll check in next. Bye.